Hello, my name is Justin, and today I'm gonna do a speech about mammoths for public speaking, and this is my audience right here. To start off, I'm gonna talk about the mammoths and the definition, what the origin word. So, the word mammoth was first introduced in the 17th century. The word mammoth is an adverb, and the word is used to describe the size of something large or something big. The word mammoth came from a Russian word, mammoth, in the meaning of it, mammoth bones. So I found that interesting. That's why I put it in there. In the 19th century, we saw a major change in the word used as a noun. It was applied to another prehistorical elephant, the Macedonian, and the word didn't fit, and it was changed throughout history and stayed with mammoths. Mammoth. Now that we talked about the origin word and stuff, let's talk about the history. So a little bit of history. The mammoths are an exotic large species of herbivores related to the elephant who roam across the steppe tundra of Eurasia and North America, and seriously dropped around 11,000 years ago, and they lived for 300 million years ago. A few less species of mammoths survived and spread across the earth, and they went to an island refuge of the coast of Siberia and Alaska. One of the islands harbored the large group of mammoths alive until around 300 and 700 years ago. So that's interesting too, because after they got extinct, some mammoths survived and they spread across the earth, and a few survived, but it's sad that they end up not surviving. Now that we talked about the history and the definition of the mammoth, let's talk about the habitat and some information about the mammoths. The mammoth's habitat was in a winter frost, and they survived by eating plants killed by the winter frost. The way they found their food was by stomping or using their tusk to spread out the snow, and so they can find the the food that they needed. So I found that interesting because they're big and they're big animals, and they couldn't use hands, so they had to use what they had in themselves. And they stomped or they used their tusks. The animals that shared the prehistoric landscape with the mammoths were the bison, the arch, and the deer family. These were small animals. Now let's get into the big animals. The big animals were megalocrops, or the giant deer. There's giant deer, or the moose genies. Now, some those were pretty big and decent compared to the mammoths. Now, some predators that live with the mammoths were prehistoric wolves, hooking cave bears, and cave lions. So that's pretty scary, because compared to the mammoths, they were a little bit they compared the size, and that's kind of scary knowing that there's something big as you roaming across within your landscape. Now let's talk about some information about the mammoths. Ancient The ancestors of both the mammoths and the Asian elephant origin in the Africa around 6.7 million to 7 million years ago, and stayed for about 4 million years before moving up into the South Europe and then farther up what is known today as Siberia and North Plain in Canada. Around a million years ago, later, and it stayed for about 4 million years before moving up into South Europe and farther up into the what is known as today the Northern Plain of Canada. So that's pretty cool, because over the years the landscape changed and it spread mammoths all over the world. Yeah, the mammoths were elephants and species, mostly closely related to the Asian elephant, known as today as the Asian elephant. They evolved throughout history, and they changed a bunch throughout history. Sorry. After we talked about all that, we can move and to talk about theories and the extinction of mammoths and the and all that. One of the long period theories is that the Clovis people were people that were in the Stone Age. They immigrated from Asia, who appeared in North America about 11,000 years ago, and hunted all of the mammoths and caused them to go extinct. So that's pretty sad, because knowing that people from all over the world came to that place, and they used it for food, for food, and for clothes. One of the other theories was when they immigrated over here, they brought animals, and they probably had a killer virus and spread it across the whole place, the wildlife, and killed animals, including the mammoths. So that's sad too, because they brought new animals, and they all brought diseases with them, and that's sad, because that could be one of the reasons they got extinct. Okay, now let's talk about survival. The survival of animals, the mammoths. The mammoths adapt to their cold environment and survive by developing a huge spell of and downsizing their ears compared with their warm dwelling relatives. Sorry for that. So yeah, they evolved a bunch of times, and they shrunk their ears and then make them smaller. One of the problems they had was that after the cold was over, they had to adapt to their warm climate. Over time, they found a way to do it by waving their ears around. By waving the ears around, and the ears were small like a plate, so they can move it around the breeze, and so they can deflect the heat. The mammoths were an amazing species that lived a long time ago, and they mutated to what's known today as Asian elephants, and that's pretty much it to wrap this up. Mammoths were pretty amazing animals that used to live a long time ago. Thank you.